Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, Deep Dive with Andy and the White Whale.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Andy, we're getting back on the horse here, man. I'm feeling much more positive today than I was on Sunday when I was crying into my beer over some pretty horrific plays in week 2. But guess what? It's a whole new week. We got a whole new slate of games. We got edges to be capitalized on all week 3 long. And actually, we probably got some winners to pat ourselves in the back on for already.
Goddamn right.
There were some season-long props that are looking pretty solid, I have to say. One that almost certainly is going to go through, and that was your Drew Brees. And you hate to celebrate something that's not good. But I would be very surprised.
I love to celebrate that.
Yeah, okay. Well, I would be very surprised if Drew Brees makes his yardage over 50. Was it 50 or 4,100, right? 4,100. I would be very surprised if Drew Brees
4,199.
If he throws 4,200 yards this year, that would be the upset of the century. Having missed, it looks like he's going to miss at least 6 weeks. Ligament surgery, thumb surgery though, could be even more. And really the Saints' future and how the NFC South shakes out is going to be extremely difficult to handicap. I really have no clue. Before we get into these games, do you have just a general sense of where the wind is blowing in the NFC South? Are you surprised that the Saints are still hanging out there as chalk?
They're being a little squirrely about announcing what they're going to do at the quarterback position, which is maybe making some people tentative, but I've seen dumber bets than placing money on Tampa Bay to win the division right now.
Yeah.
It's just like they don't have a great shot, but the number's too damn big. It's a little silly at some shops. I've seen some decent size numbers on that. And talk about, there's been a lot of quarterbacks as far as getting shook up throughout the league, but one division losing 2 right out of the bat like this. And I guess the Cam news is they're hemming and hawing, but I think it might be an upgrade to get him out of there right now, the way his arm looks. So
for sure,
it's definitely interesting with what's going on there.
Yeah, no, long-term Cam out is a downgrade on Carolina, but this week it might be an upgrade. We'll get to that one in a second. But yeah, it's Bucks to win the South does seem a little weird that it's still so favorable. Todd Bowles coordinating a hell of a defense. We didn't expect to see this out of the Bucks defense at all. If they would just fire Byron Leftwich into the sun, then we would see a frisky Buccaneers team, I think. They just need to get their heads out of their ass on offense, and they're going to be.
NASA's budget's been slashed.
Oh, well, that's not good. Also, Bucks are going to schedule hell here in a little bit, so we'll see if they can survive this. This stretch is going to be nasty. They're not going to have it after this week. They don't have another home game until like November or something dumb. So it's going to be bad. But that's
how about the other one?
Home field advantage still matter? Maybe not. Yeah. Patty Mahomes, what was his his touchdowns over? Oh my gosh. It's a little too early.
36 and a half.
It's a little too early to count.
You never know.
I mean, honestly though.
Yeah, he could get hurt.
After what we've seen from him in terms of torrid pace of touchdown passes, what's the over-under on when that cashes? Like week 10, probably?
Yeah.
Yeah. How about Baker Mayfield
that's like
interceptions?
10 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a week 10 also. We bet over 14 and a half.
Yeah.
That's going to get there. He is, let's not spoil it. We're going to talk a little bit about him as well. There's been some weirdness with his decision making.
Yes,
I think that one gets there. Yeah, a lot of our season-long quarterback props are looking pretty good, which is nice. It's nice to be right about something because we've been wrong about plenty. We won't remind anyone of but any of those hot takes.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, I bet on the Dolphins this year, so there's that. But overall, though, I would say that our perspective coming into the season from a team level is shaping up well. So that's good. But it's not translating at all to game-by-game winners for me, at least. You're kind of treading water, right? You're about 500?
Yeah. I didn't. My round robin teaser went to shit, but I've been
You
hitting
didn't put
some
very much on
totals.
that,
Those
though,
went
right?
well. I've got some nice CLV. No, those are very small bets. I've got some nice CLV this week on a couple bets. My Vikings Packer teaser, those numbers are starting to spike up. That one's going to be nice as far as getting those down at like 8.5. Both of those are going to seem to move up towards 10. We'll get to all that, but I don't have a ton of bets yet this week. I'm still kind of shaking things out. I might get into the prop market. There's been some props that I want to see what the numbers are because a lot of the shit isn't out yet, but I'll be interested in a few, and I'll mention it when we get to those games.
Dude,
So,
I love that call.
Start with Thursday.
I would love to kind of, and before we get into Thursday, I would love to kind of cover some low hanging fruit here to kind of make up, some of the damage that's been done. Obviously, the second half scope plays have been spectacular, but then they've helped. But if we could scoop a little easy prop plays on top of that, that would be nice because I could use the help. Weirdly, I'm beating the market in 65% of my plays, and I'm hitting 35%, which is not good. You have a theory what's going on with the market real quick before we get into these games? Like, we're still thinking this is an efficient, predictive market. It's just early random noise, too small of a sample size to make any conclusions. What, you have any theories or thoughts?
Yeah, what you just said. It's been 2 weeks. Like, chill. Everyone just chill. Calm your tits. It's one of those things where I remember there was a really big argument, and I hate getting in arguments on Twitter because no one wins. It's the fucking internet.
No,
but it was over a bet. I usually win. It was a basket that should not have been counted in a college basketball game. It was clearly after the buzzer. It was, I think so. It had no bearing on the end of the game. That the team who was ahead before the basket was still ahead, but it affected the spread. And people freaked out. And it's one of those things where I tried to tell them, like, what if this had happened in the middle of the game, like 10 minutes left in the first half? Nobody's freaking out, but it was the last shot of the game. So you're going to freak out because you're seeing it because of the timing, where it fits into the span of the game. And it's kind of like that as far as these are the first 2 weeks of the season. If we had these 2 weeks in the middle of the season where the markets moving weren't predictive for 2 weeks, I don't know if we'd be making such a fuss, but this is all we have of the 2019 season. So right now we're thinking, oh my God, what's going on? Market moves aren't predictive. We're getting CLV and getting crushed. Like, it just doesn't it feel like it's kind of like that. It's where it is in the season. It's the beginning. Okay. It's all we have. I think it'll hash out. We got 256 games. So there's 224 left. We've got plenty of time to make this all average out.
I'm about an eighth of the way through my plays though, because I'm not going to play week 17. So it does feel like pressure a little bit. 1/8 of the way through. I'm not in the same, not to the same magnitude that I'm swinging away on the other rest of the weeks. Okay, so let's get into this then. A good game to pass on, as far as I see it from every step of the way, is Thursday night's game. Tennessee heads to Jacksonville. Two offenses that you can have 0.0 confidence will move the ball efficiently. Total set as low. I'm seeing one of the lowest totals across the young season at 39.5 right now. That, and some of that may be weather influence. Some of that is kind of the trend that we're seeing of these Thursday night games just being ugly and sloppy and poor offense. A lot of people lining up to bet this under. I kind of had a whiff of an over on this one, but I steered clear of it once we got a feel for the weather and the wind, and kind of, cooled our jets a little bit on Gardner Minshew and his capabilities against a relatively good defense in Tennessee. It's going to be tough for him. Hate the approaches of both of these offensive coordinators. Hate the reliance on the running game. Do you have any sense that the Jaguars could pull off an upset here? Are you getting involved in this game at all, or should we just kind of hold our noses, watch the first half, and then attack this at halftime?
Yeah, I don't have a ton to say about this. I would probably be considering Jacksonville money line if this were a Sunday game. Like you said, I don't like either offensive approach, but I think I like Tennessee's less. And I would lean Jacksonville, like I said. Great defenses. The total's probably where it should be. These defenses have both been showing up. Obviously, you had week 1 with Kansas City, and I mean, just what are you going to do?
Can't count that, right?
City.
Yeah.
But the defenses look decent. Yeah, you can't count it. The defenses have looked good. They looked good last week. Jacksonville on a short week with a young, inexperienced quarterback. It's not something I want to do. Like I said, if this was Sunday, he had a full week. It's almost like the rookie head coach thing, rookie quarterback. It makes me a little more sketched out about betting it. Yeah, you can get a plus number if you believe in Minshew in this offense, which still they just don't have the receivers. They don't have the game plan. But it's not like I'm high on Tennessee, so this is a hard pass for me. Second half play.
I hate what I've seen out of Mariota, to be honest with you. The 2 weeks now, he has looked horrific.
Yeah, for sure.
He's looked horrific. Some of the clips that we've kind of caught wind with the All-22 from Tennessee, he missed some absolute no-doubters that could have put that game away against the Colts last week. Obviously, I was on Tennessee in that spot, and I kicking myself in the ass for backing quarterback in Mariota, who I have no confidence in, period. And sure enough, that was the differentiating factor in that game. I think I'm going to look out for potential. I guess best case scenario in this game, as far as I can tell you, is that it's really low scoring first half, and then we get a nice super duper depressed second half total to swing a little bit on the over. Or perhaps Tennessee's up 10-3 or something at halftime, and we can come back and get it an even better number on Jacksonville, because I think Jacksonville does keep this game competitive. Thank you, NFL, for putting the week 3 primetime game. Thank you for giving us this piece of shit. Thank you. We really appreciate that.
If you
Rush.
think you're not getting a weather report at halftime, you're dead wrong. We're going to be looking at the hour by hour in Duval County. There might be a second half over if the winds calm down. I don't know.
Love that look.
It's still a little early to be looking at the weather. Yeah, we might have to take a peek at that. So, Sunday.
Yeah,
go. With elite versus elite. Elite versus elite. Flacco, Rodgers. Grudge match in Lambeau.
Two Super Bowl winning quarterbacks.
I feel like I need to apologize. 2 Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. Wow. I do need to apologize. I didn't post it. I put it in my spreadsheet and didn't tweet about it. I teased Green Bay and Minnesota. Like, they're both 8.5 pretty much everywhere. I teased them both under the other side of 3. It's a good teaser. There's still some 8.5s out there on both if you hunt around. But they are moving right now. People are coming in on Green Bay. People are coming in on Minnesota. I don't know what to think about Green Bay. We talked about this a little. Was it just scripted plays? Is that what happened there at the beginning of the game? Because that offense looked like one of the greatest show on turf. They were moving it in all aspects. They were running, they were throwing, everything was working. They moved down the field so quickly, scored a touchdown on 3 consecutive drives, did nothing the rest of the game. I'd like to give it all to the Minnesota defense adjustments, but I don't think you can completely attribute it to that. And then Denver looks like a kind of a lost team at times here. I don't think they got a sack out of their edge rushers again.
2 weeks, 0 sacks.
0 sacks now. The injury there, he played through it. What's it, Bakhtiari? We'll see how that goes. Maybe they do get a sack this week, but I mean, I don't know about laying all those points. That's why I was more than happy to lay a teaser here. I mean, what do you think about Denver traveling here? Do they have any shot to stay inside this number?
I honestly like Flacco's. Like, if you go through the advanced stats a little bit, like, he's not bottom 5 in terms of performance through this season, but they aren't scoring points. He's not doing well in the red zone. He's taking sacks at super inopportune times. And if you kind of think back through his career post his Super Bowl and post that big old contract he got in Baltimore, like, I think that's the knock on him. right? Like he will hold the ball too long and he will take an inopportune sack and he will take points off the board that way. He did it against the Raiders. He did it at home against the Bears. They lost both of those games, obviously. And I am not especially looking for a feisty, high-scoring kind of output here from the Broncos because they have young, inexperienced wide receivers outside of Emmanuel Sanders. Those guys are dropping balls all the time. They don't have any rhythm with Flacco, and the Packers defense is legit. I don't really use defense very highly weighted at all in my projections, but you can't ignore the fact that these Packers are playing amazing defense. And on the other side of the ball, yeah, I completely agree with you. We do finally see some sacks from Chubb and Von Miller here, not just because of the offensive line injuries for Green Bay, but Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers is doing the same damn thing. He is holding onto the ball for far too long. He is, same old. He is very, very unwilling to take a chance to throw a ball into tight coverage to risk throwing an interception. Outside of Devontae Adams, he has no chemistry with his guys. And you're most of the emphasis that you're getting out of when you read the coaching quotes and you listen to LaFleur, like they are not really understanding or coming to rationalizing what's going on with their offensive performance and why Aaron Rodgers has been so underwhelming through 2 wins. In fact, most of his comments were like, "Oh, we're going to do a little bit more balanced job between getting our 2 running backs carries." Like, okay, yeah, you're not going to run successfully against this Broncos front 7. Like, I'm sorry, like that's not going to work. So all of this kind of mixed together really just under was just screaming at me, and so I'm looking at 2 kind of lost offenses, and I sold down to 41.5 here. My number is plus 102. I did that yesterday, and this thing is taking money to the over. Can you explain that at all?
I don't know. No, I can't. I don't know. Like just Aaron Rodgers' name. Maybe people turn that Vikings game off after the first quarter. Like, oh man, Rodgers is back. Like Denver's defense still decent. Again, it's maybe tough to judge because two weeks in a row now, the Bears, and we'll get to them. Like, it's hard to be like, is this defense really good or is just Mitch Trubisky really bad still? Like, what's going on? And honestly, God, Denver probably should have won that game. I agree with a lot of things you said about the receivers. You had some drops. That offense is not great. Green Bay, outside of those first drives, that offense looked pretty shitty. But again, was it the Minnesota defense that made some adjustments? I guess people are bought into maybe Green Bay playing well at home here, staying home an extra week. I mean, what's the score line for that? If we're going to say it's 42-8, so you're 21 plus like 25-17. Does that get you there? You think the Packers the Packers need to score 4 or 5 times? Like I lean with you. Don't always believe in and maybe this is a good thing because the way the line moves is not how the game goes so far this season.
Right.
You should be more than happy that the line is moving away from you. So I would agree. It's probably an underlook. Don't worry about it. I think trust your process, trust your handicap. The market's not always going to move the right way. I mean, it has to start moving the right way more often than not to get back to the mean here. But I definitely agree with you. I'm staying away from this one outside of the teaser. I think I'm not even that high on Green Bay as an offense. I'm just that down on Denver as an offense and against this Green Bay defense. I think Green Bay scores 21 and they'll cover a teaser line. I'm not super excited about Flacco going into Lambeau and scoring more than 13, 14 points. I might even look at a Denver team total under. So that's where I'm at on that one.
Got it. Okay. I'm capping that one 24-16. I'm getting a 8-point win for the Packers, but I'm not 100% sure how they cover 8. So maybe there's value on the Broncos, but I'm not getting involved backing Joe Flacco on the road at this point in my life. Sorry. Lions, a game where the market has moved with us. Let's shine a little light here. We got in early on some Lions action, recognizing that the Philly injuries were serious, and that as that news trickled out, it would tend to put a little pressure on this line and move it in the direction of Detroit. But yeah, coming off of a very, I think it was not a box score win, but it was it was an effort win at home against the Chargers, 13-10 last week. The Lions head to Philadelphia, where they match up fairly well against the beaten and battered Philadelphia team that has had so many injuries that we are expecting, third, fourth, fifth string wide receivers out there with the starting unit, and no defensive tackles left on the squad, and the defensive backfield is playing quite poorly through this portion of the season, and they have no help coming anytime soon for that crew. Unless they make the last second trade here for Jalen Ramsey, but I don't think that affects this week. This Eagles team so beaten up they couldn't even get a practice in today. What is usually the most important practice of the week, they did a walkthrough instead. And so a game that opened up Philadelphia -7.5 has been bet down to Philadelphia -6.5. I think we both got on the train at Detroit +7. At a flat -110. I also feel like we've kind of missed an even better look maybe on the under here. This doesn't have any of the makings of a shootout. Can you kind of craft a narrative here where both teams are kind of playing a little bit of ball control, field position, trying to, win it on the ground, or do you think Detroit live dog here can win it through the air?
Oh, I think they're a live dog for sure. Especially, this was such a bet just based on the early injury news, and a lot of that, that can go one of two ways when you're speculating, because this is what we do when we're betting early. You're doing some speculating, and just the people that didn't play today, Wednesday, or didn't practice: Jeffrey, Jackson, Goddard, Clement, Jernigan. A bunch of guys were limited. I loved it on the injury report. Sudfeld was a full go, though. So that's
huge.
They've got that going for them. Like Cox was limited.
Can he catch?
There were so many people that are yeah, he needs to play DN if they want to. It feels like, and I don't want to say like a team ever punts, but sometimes in a case like this where it's like, all right, like if we have a few of these guys that maybe can go, do we even do that, or do we just let everybody take the week off, get healthy? We try to sneak one out. A touchdown was too much. I don't think Detroit deserved a win last week. In fact, they did not deserve to win. You look at the yards per play, you look at just the box score, you look at the drives that the Chargers got nothing out of. Like, Detroit probably should have lost by a touchdown. But they got the win, which I was kind of pissed about when I started to look at this. I'm like, God, I wonder if they'd have got just smoked by like 10. I wonder what we could have got for a line here. But I'm still happy with the touchdown. It's moved. It's ticked down to 6 at some places as the injury news has fully come to fruition. And even Wentz is a little dinged up too. So I'm more than happy with the number we got. I think Detroit is definitely a live dog. It's tough. It's a tough road environment. And I don't know how much I really believe in the coaching staff there, but the defense has graded it out well. They're like middle of the pack in a lot of the numbers. And I think if you take out some of the garbage time bullshit that they had down in Arizona there, they'd probably grade out even better. So I haven't been like overly impressed with Detroit. I'm not excited about them doing much this year, but 7 was too much. That was just an easy number grab.
Yep, agree with all those points. I would only add that, Detroit's defense is opportunistic. They held the Chargers to 10 points last week. They forced some key fumbles. They got some key picks. And I would expect that unit is probably playing with some confidence. And honestly, the Detroit passing attack here, although Stafford has not fared well against kind of the top tier competition, competition that we've seen from him in his career. He's one of those guys that usually, like, you know, he kind of shrinks a little bit once they go up against the best and the best. But you know, the Eagles team right now in this moment does not look like the best of the best. They have a lot of limitations. They have a lot of growing, a lot of healing, and a lot of kind of coming together to do before I think we can really say that that's the team that we expected to see this year. And you know, I think Detroit could steal this one. Very, very much could steal this one. Let's move on. Let's talk about the game of the week.
Oh, Lordy. Game of the week. Couldn't be more excited. I will be watching. Actually, I said in the Sunday pod, I'm going to watch this over the Vikings game, which is a complete and total lie. I forgot I'm going to the Vikings game. So I'll probably watch the Vikings game.
No.
Because I'll be there. I had completely forgotten I had tickets, and I have to go.
No.
So I'll be watching this one. I'll probably be watching this on my phone, which, I mean, if not that, maybe just Red Zone. They should have Red Zone in every stadium all the time. That'd be the best. I bet this over early. I was so happy watching this tick up. It got as high as 55.5 in some shops, and that got slammed. The under got slammed when it got hit, when it got up to that high. So back at like 53 at a lot of places. I don't know who. I guess I get the buyback. I don't disagree with buying back on a high number like that, but boy, it really got hit today. So maybe feeling a little bit sketch about that, the overlook I took. But number one, I thought it'd get bet up. And number two, Kansas City's defense kind of stinks out loud. Like, I don't know if Oakland was a good indicator of that. Like Baltimore, some of the quotes out of Baltimore where they said, we haven't even shown some of our offense yet. Lamar Jackson's accuracy seems to have suddenly figured itself out. He's still a dangerous runner. We saw what Mahomes can do. I think Mahomes could have laid 50 points on him last week. It was just one of those cases where the game wasn't competitive once he got those 4 touchdowns. Like maybe if Oakland would have been able to punch one in, Kansas City would have ramped it back up. I don't know how you feel about that. Do you think Oakland's defense stepped up, or do you think Kansas City took the foot off the gas pedal?
Well, there was some injury. I mean, there was some refereeing shenanigans too. They took a couple of touchdowns off.
That's true.
Also, they were refereeing in favor of Oakland to try to get them back into that game, and they didn't because they kept throwing picks in the end zone and shit. But yeah, no, I thought that the offensive performance we saw from Kansas City last week was commensurate of like a 42-point game, not a 28. Yeah. There was a six touchdown performance there. And yeah, I think clearly the most, if not one of the, I think the top 3 most dynamic offenses in the NFL right now are all in the AFC. And obviously there is a lot to be said about strength of opponent in terms of evaluating this. But I think the Patriots, the Chiefs, and the Ravens in some order represent your 3 most dynamic offensive threats across the NFL right now. The fact that they're playing each other and that total was opened at 51 made for a great bet on the over. And actually, once it got up to 55.5, I kind of was like, maybe there is a game script here where the Ravens compete and this goes under. I think this is a correlated look in terms of Ravens covering the spread and this game staying under. And I guess hear me out a little bit and think back to kind of last year.
Mm-hmm.
You remember this game last year, right? Kansas City, Baltimore.
Oh, yeah.
It was a really, really good game. Really good. Late
Game of the year last year.
It was up there. Kansas City.
The Chargers
Rams,
game. The Chargers game
Rams
was great
was
too.
pretty good. Chargers, KC was pretty good. There was a couple of games that were pretty excellent last year. A hell of a lot more than we've had so far this year. But the Ravens Chiefs game, that was like I absolutely hammered that under. I had the kidney on that under 55-ish, I think, or 54 maybe. That got bet all the way down to 51, and my angle was literally like Baltimore is going to play Kivoy. They are going to run the ball. They're going to eat the clock, and they are going to, they're going to literally, like, their defense is good enough to put pressure on Mahomes, and this is an easy, obvious underlook. And of course, it goes 24-24 into overtime. And I'm sitting here with like a 54, and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, if one of these two teams scores a touchdown, I get a push. Like, this is crap. Kansas City scored a field goal with a huge stop. I mean, they were driving with ease, and it looked like they were going to score a touchdown and win by 6. I think the game might have been KC -6 too, so that would have really screwed me big time, and it would have made all the Ravens backers out there. We knew a bunch of them; they would have screwed them. Yeah, Baltimore comes up with a stop, and then KC defense comes up with a stop, and they won 27-24. I want to say that went under by the hair of their chins in overtime. I think you see a lot of the same in terms of approach, right? I think Baltimore still recognizes kind of the way that the Patriots beat this team in Arrowhead in the AFC title game was by keeping Mahomes off the field for the first half of that game. And I would expect that you see a little bit of that same sort of approach here, where you have got to prevent Mahomes from finding rhythm, because the second that he does, you are toast, right? Like the Oakland game was a perfect example. One quarter, dude threw 4 touchdown passes, and none of them were even remotely, contested, even though, you had you had double coverage, you had safety help on a bunch of those. It didn't matter. His weapons are so fast, guys that we had never really even considered or heard of. I still don't know what Robinson's first name is. Those guys were utterly tearing apart the secondary, and their offense is as dynamic as they come. So I think this really goes one of two ways. Either you keep Mahomes off the field and thereby contain him by just not giving him the opportunity. To be able to do that, you need to have kind of a physical, run-oriented approach. You need to be going, 3 down, 4 yards in 3 downs, and converting first downs on some of these long drives. And I think the expectation we had heading into the season that, the Ravens had this kind of dynamic rushing offense in their back pocket to deploy at their will. I would expect we see that this week. Now, I think the bet you made on the over was a good bet, and because I missed out on that at the early number, and I can't really stomach betting an under on this Chiefs team right now. I'm looking for the Ravens to cover here. This is a little bit of a put our money where our mouth is in terms of being so bullish on the Ravens in preseason. Like, I think this is the spot, right? Like, this is it. Like, I believe in this team, to the fullest, that they are contenders in the AFC. And, this is their chance to show us on the road, show us what you got top to bottom, deploy your weapons, and make this a competitive game. If you had to lean aside, would you lean Ravens or Chiefs?
If it takes to 7, and I think it is, Baltimore, I think they can run with them. I like what you're saying. Like, there's two sides to this, and I'll give you my final thoughts on this. There's the side, like you just said, what New England did to them, that worked. It worked for a while. It doesn't work the whole game, apparently. Baltimore has a pretty good defense. Baltimore can run the ball. That's not a bad look. But also, do you want to completely just switch gears from what worked? Be like, hey, this is how we're scoring points. Let's completely switch up the offense and run the ball a bunch now. Let's play ball control. Hopefully we can still score, because they're going to score on our ass. You're not going to go into Kansas City and shut them out. Like, we kept the ball away and we won 10-0. That shit don't happen. They still have to use the offense that's been working. So sure. I think it's like, I get what you're saying. It makes sense, but can you get completely away from what's been working and just, turn into a run-first offense, get away from what you did against Miami, get away from some of the things that worked last week? So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. If they do run, I don't love my over as much, but I still think there'll be plenty of points to go around. And there might be some alt totals.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, if you're Jim Harbaugh, if you're John Harbaugh and you're sitting in the planning room, like, you're literally like, either how do I prevent this team from scoring 40, or how do I get my team to 40, right? Like this is the decision
Score 41.
making. Score 41. Yeah, right. This is his decision making that he has to kind of go through, and and it's obviously this isn't like, I mean, is this? I guess the way I sit back and look at this, I feel like this is an important game. I feel like the winner of this game is in the driver's seat to get a bye, right? Because the Patriots are getting a bye. I don't think that's up for discussion or argument or debate. Like they're going 15-1, 14-2 at the worst. They're getting a bye.
Jeez.
This is your second team that has a potential to get a bye, and I think this game's going to matter in that conversation because these two teams are both really freaking good. They're both going to win double-digit games, and this could be the game that matters. So. I don't know. You think if you're the Ravens, you think you try to get to 41 as opposed to how do you keep them to 40? Under 40?
I think you got to find a happy medium.
Okay.
You do got to maybe a little more ball control, but man, you still got to score. You're not gonna beat them by slowing the game down and not scoring. A long drive with a punt or a field goal. I think that's a death sentence. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. I'm super excited to watch that on the Jumbotron anytime I can.
Okay, well, last couple of comments and then let's move on. I really want to see Jimmy Smith out there. He's questionable. I'm nervous about that. I'd like a full complement of cornerbacks out there for my Ravens this week. I would love to see a throwback game from Earl Thomas. Get us a couple picks, a couple game-changing turnovers. We know what Pat Mahomes is going to try to do. He is not Dink and Duncan here. He is going deep on you. And I would really, really love to see Earl Thomas be a differentiating factor for the Ravens in the secondary. That would be so cool to see him remind everyone he's in the league still. And yeah, I think your point is actually pretty well made. The Ravens have been doing it with precision, intermediate and deep passing to this point, and it doesn't necessarily make sense to completely go away from that. If you can just go out there and score, I think you do it. Yeah, this should be a freaking great game. I'm fired up for this. Let's move on. And I will be breaking down a game that I will not be watching here, which is
I was just gonna say
the sorry ass Cincinnati Bengals, who came through for me in spades week 1 and burned a giant pile of money for me last week. Head to Buffalo to take on the upstart Buffalo Bills, who are pretty clearly in the conversation in the driver's seat for a wild card spot in the AFC because someone has to take the wild card spot. So why not them? Buffalo Bills have won 2 games against the Jets and Giants, both on the road. This is their home opener. Cincinnati was exposed last week for their defense being complete and utter frauds. That said, Josh Allen still has not shown us that he is really developing as a passer the way that Lamar Jackson has, in my opinion. A lot of his passes against the Giants, I felt like, were pretty lame duck passes, and were only, they were the beneficiaries of just absolutely god-awful coverage and pass defense on the part of the Giants, and that, he has guys, maybe it was good scheming too to some degree. But this Bills offense can score. They can score in the red zone. They got 4 touchdowns last week. Anything in your heart giving you any pause from expecting a pretty comfortable Bills win here against the Bengals?
Yeah, I'm thinking about taking Buffalo here. Do we want to do overreaction week part 2? Buffalo looks good. Granted, the Giants suck. Like, the Giants suck worse than we thought they were going to suck. They benched Eli. We'll get to that. But Buffalo looked decent. The defense is stellar. It's going to look even better here at home against another. I don't know. We were so bought in on the game plan, how they called that game week 1 for Cincy. And then we got to week 2. Lost. Everything was lost. The defense was lost. Shanahan mangled them. I don't know quite what to think about Cincy. I think this is, I don't have much to say. This is such a stay-away game for me. Buffalo or nothing. Picks up even higher. Buffalo teasers. Buffalo under. Cincinnati team total unders.
What about a Buffalo team total over?
Kind of an ugly one to watch.
What about a Buffalo team total over? Does that inspire you at all?
22, like a 25?
25.
Not really. I don't know if I
No?
want to.
Their defense could create
No,
some
just
short
because
fields.
they might take their foot off the gas pedal if Cincinnati looks like they did last week. Yikes.
That's
So,
true.
no, complete stay away, no bet. No bet. Don't want to watch it. Don't want to think about it. I want to see I'm going to pay attention to it, and we're going to look at some of the things after the game and see, is Buffalo for real? Will we actually know if Buffalo's for real? Will it be a kind of a false 3-0 against some pretty bad teams? 3-0 still 3-0 though. They does put them in a nice position to move towards a 5 or 6 seed here. They cannot win the division, I don't think. That would be hilarious. Can you imagine an upset?
No. Well, we're gonna find out week 4.
I don't even want. I'm done.
Did you see?
Yeah, I'm done with this game. We'll talk a lot more about Buffalo next week.
Absolutely. But did you see the look ahead for week 4? Buffalo is, I think they're hosting the Patriots, and the Patriots are 6.5-point favorites on the road. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, and that'll tick up. People will bet the Patriots. I bet you can get Buffalo at a touchdown next week because the Patriots are going to mangle Luke Falk, and people are going to bet into it again. If you want Buffalo at home, get a touchdown for sure. So, yeah, done. I don't know. You got anything else? I'm not betting that one.
No. I'm
gonna read the box score.
Yeah, I'm only evaluating it for the sake of understanding what's going on with Patriots Bills week 4 because I think that 6.5 will not manifest. I think that will be Patriots 9.5 or 10. The way that this team is getting.
Yeah, you're gonna get a bigger number than that.
Yeah.
Well, just the narrative after New England wins by a few touchdowns. Even if Buffalo beats Cincy, it's not going to be we should be betting Buffalo still. Like you're going to get a good number on Buffalo. I bet. I bet Buffalo ahead of time. I think you'll definitely be on the other side of the touchdown.
Yeah.
All right, onto the Lucas Oil Dome. Brissett, Ryan. I don't think Indy's looked that bad. We said this last week too. They took somebody to overtime week 1. I think they looked bad week 2. Atlanta, a lot better, but the home road splits, that's a really big thing, especially with Matty Ryan. Has to go on the road. It's in a dome again. They're all in a dome for him, but he does have to travel. Indy's defense, not decent. He's not going to be the beneficiary of a shitload of injuries, I guess, besides the luck injury. I haven't really dug into this one. I'm not super excited about betting this one. Atlanta, I guess I'd still lean Atlanta on the road. I think the offense picked up a few things last week. It looks a lot better. It's going to be one of those things where, like, oh, man, the offense is back. Let's bet on Atlanta. They're a buy-on team. This is a short number. And then they go and you see road Matt Ryan again, and they lose by 8. So I kind of crossed this one off early. Do you think the offense is starting to get it? It's a new coordinator. Sometimes it takes a few weeks. Like, what do you think about the play calling in the first 2 weeks? And granted, week 1 on the road against a really, really tough defense. So this is not the same. This is not the Minnesota defense. This should be slightly easier as far as the road game.
Yeah, we're not expecting.
What do you think of the Atlanta offense? Because I think that's what No, Leonard's not going to play. So that's what I think this game is going to come down. Do you think the Atlanta offense will go on the road and perform? Will they score?
They have the weapons to hit Indy where it hurts. They can pass the ball deep.
Mm-hmm.
We saw them. We saw Matt. I mean, I guess what I would say is the Sunday night game, Atlanta played up. They were really, really, really fired up. Their defensive line and their pass rush came alive. We haven't seen that pass rush from Atlanta in weeks, months, years. I mean, it's been a really long time since they looked that lively on pass rush. But there's still something not quite right about Matt Ryan. He's not really clicking, gelling with what they're trying to do with this offense. He made. I think they tried 3 deep passes. One of them was alligator arm dropped by Ridley. One of them was caught for a touchdown, and the other one, Matt Ryan was a little off on his timing. He was a little far, a little deep, a little too deep. And those shots are going to be there against this Colts team. Obviously, it's indoors. It's on a fast surface. There should be some points in this one. I have so little respect for this coaching staff in Atlanta from top to bottom here. Dan Quinn is not the long-term answer there, and it's just I've had just too many times this year already in the last couple of years just betting on a bad coach, on the road, or just betting on a bad coach period. Like they make decisions that leave points on the field that are the differentiating factor in terms of win, lose, or cover. And Frank Reich, I feel the exact opposite. I freaking love that guy. I would go to war for that guy. The fact that he's got this team rallied and playing well, they should have won week 1 against the Chargers. They came away with an impressive win against the Titans last week. Like they're in this to win. And I am holding out hope against hope that they somehow pull ahead and take this AFC South, because that would just, that would be a huge relief for me, obviously. But yeah, this is one where I'm kind of split, and I would, if I didn't kind of believe in the coaching in one team and I didn't hate the coaching on the other, I'd probably looking for the Falcons here just because of the matchup. So just, the intangibles kind of cancel out the matchup advantages here. And so I'm staying away from this one.
Yeah, pass for me. And like you said, it's interesting. I was looking at some prop markets today. Dan Quinn is ticking up the first coach fired markets.
Ought to be.
He's moving his and like you, justifiably so. If he can't make this work with the weapons they have, Julio, Ridley, I mean, just the back, they have some good pieces on defense. They should look a lot better. Like, do they win that game if half of Philadelphia doesn't end up in the injury tent? Maybe not.
They lose that game if Aguilar catches
they probably
that
should have
ball.
lost at the end. Aguilar probably catches the ball. Yeah, they probably should have lost that game. So, yep, total. This is a hard pass for me. Oh, man, I'm looking at the next one on the board, and I'm scared. Because I did it to him last year. Yeah.
Okay. So for those who are new to this podcast, we are laughing because the last game that Andy attended in person was sort of a similar spirit. He went to the Buffalo Bills at the Minnesota Vikings game last year, where Minnesota was 16.5-point favorites against the Bills team that looked like dog shit week 1, lost 41-3 to the Ravens week 1, and then turned around and put up a second stinker week 2, and then they were like, okay, well, we're throwing Josh Allen into the mix week 3 against an all-universe defense in the Vikings. And actually, same sort of situation, right? Vikings were coming off of their tie against the Packers on the road, right? I mean, like this is literally deja vu all over again. Now the Vikings are hosting this.
It's week 3.
Yeah, right.
Yep. I mean, everything is right. It's a team that's not supposed to be good. I'm going up on the party bus. I think it was cursed last year because I'm just kind of sometimes I don't think very like my buddy's like, hey, I got you tickets. We're going to the Bills game. Awesome. I tell my wife, she's like, well, I did get invited. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that. I didn't know you. Like, so I ditched the wife last year, and I felt terrible. So this year, I got Mrs. Andy MSFW a ticket to come with, which just turned into her having to find babysitter for the kids. But so I think that's what I screwed up last year. I was a terrible husband.
Work by you.
Bringing her with this year.
Karma's
Kirk Cousins
right.
playing a bad team. Yeah. Cousins can't beat good teams. Cousins does beat bad teams. This team, it was got a little squirrely there at the beginning last week. We're up 10-0. Let's go. And I couldn't hammer live lines fast enough, nor did I ever bet live bets enough. Like I should have put the house, the kidney, the kids, the boat, everything on there. Didn't happen, but yeah, it was down to like minus 130 for KC just on the money line. With so much time left. Sometimes you can find some really cute overreactions in live lines, especially in totals. That was a nice little hit. It helped make up for some of the other shit over the weekend. That was a beautiful second quarter, like we talked about earlier. Who knows how that game goes if Oakland actually gets back into it a little offensively. They could have got a lot more scored on them. I think the big thing, and I've heard this a lot, is the Oakland's rush defense. Pretty decent. Minnesota seems to want to run the ball a lot this year, so that could be the difference. If the Vikings decide they get away from the run a little and throw the ball, they have two really, really good receivers. They have a decent tight end. The backs don't catch the ball too bad. They need to throw the ball here. They throw the ball. They probably cover. I got them in the teaser with Green Bay. Two home teams playing two NFC North teams playing two AFC West teams. That they're over a touchdown favorite, teased down. I'll know my fate early because they're both noon games. I think
Low
they cover a
totals.
teaser. That's where I'm at. It's
Low
low
totals at
totals. They're
home.
both
Yep.
right around 43. They're both at home. I think that's the look. I love that. Minnesota's taking money today again too. They're gonna probably take up to 10, which it wouldn't surprise me if they don't cover that. I'm sure they can get backdoor, but the defense did look great at times in the second half against a very good quarterback. We'll see if they can do that against Derek Carr, who honestly I don't want to shit on Derek Carr as much as I should. Like he's looked okay at times this year.
I'll do it
he's
then.
just healthier.
I'll do it happily. I'll do it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not putting him in the Pro Bowl, but he's looked better than he's not crying. That helps.
No, okay. So week one, the week one late night Monday Night Football game is always weird. It's always wonky. There's always things that we can't understand come week 4, and it's going to be for me at least, it's going to be how did I talk myself into the Raiders might be frisky, because they're not good at all. The matchups you pointed out, the two key matchups in this game are Diggs and Thielen against a woefully inept coverage unit. They are going to be wide open, and they are going to have all of the space in the world. If Kirk Cousins cannot hit those guys, then Kirk Cousins needs to be put out to pasture. Too bad they didn't keep Kyle Sloter. We're not going to get our slaughterhouse hive going for the Vikings this year. But in seriousness, the Raiders and their offense and their play calling, their play sequencing, their ability to create separation to get open was nowhere to be found against not a great Kansas City defense. And Derek Carr is not the long-term answer for this team. He does not have the goods. He played up in that Broncos game, and I will be surprised if we see anything close to that level of competency from him for the rest of the season. Period. He's not an NFL quarterback in 2019. Not a starter, in my opinion. And I think against this defense, he's going to be exposed. I won't be. I mean, if the Vikings at home can do what they did to Matt Ryan and company, they are going to just put a freaking black hole on the black hole.
Look what you just did.
We're going to see like a 28-6 kind of game. Like this should be an old-fashioned Vikings get it done with defense, get the passing plays they want, get some big plays in the passing game, and then put this thing away on the ground. I would look for an under here. I would look for Vikings to win pretty convincingly. I love your teaser leg there, and hope you have fun at the game. Let's move down the card.
Oh, Tom Brady versus future Tom Brady. And maybe we should just skip this one so you don't end up betting against the Patriots again. This is another one where if you told me I can start the game where my team is up by 4 scores, not technically not if you want to go for 2, but at least 3 scores. You start up by 3 scores in the NFL. You should be taking that blindly. Not in today's NFL, not with the passing rules and not with the disparity in talent from the haves and the absolute have-nots. We thought New Jersey, we thought the Jets of New Jersey here would be a little frisky this year, and maybe they would be if Darnold wasn't going to make-out parties. Luke Falk looked better. Luke Falk looked better than Trevor Siemian. You can correct me on that if you disagree. I thought he looked okay. He's still Luke Falk. He's not a replay. I mean, he's not a starter. Obviously, he wasn't even their second choice. This isn't going to be pretty. This is maybe a bench Le'Veon in your fantasy league because they're not going to get to run the ball much. New England not only has looked great on offense, their defense is really good. Luke Falk trying to pass against Gilmore, good luck. This sucks. Like, this game sucks. This isn't going to be fun to watch. I'm glad it's at noon, so I'll be not watching it. This could be a blowout. This is one of those where it's like, what do you do? Bet the Patriots not many points? What if they take their foot off the gas pedal? Like, this is completely dependent off if the Patriots want to cover this or not. So I'm not in their heads. I don't know what's going on. Hard pass unless I please it. Let's go New England minus 30, Dallas minus 30. Pleaser, 6-1.
It's not the craziest thing I've ever heard of.
Touching this?
It's really not the craziest thing I've ever heard of. Honestly, I guess what I thought
team total's like 33.
Yeah, I guess yes. I mean, do you want to know what I'm capping this? I'm capping this like 35-10 or something. Like, this is just an absolute train wreck. 33-10. I don't know. It's probably 35-10. This is a train wreck of a game. I will note that I'm keeping an eye on whatever's going on with Tom Brady's calf. That's kind of weird. And Tom Brady lost his. They put Win on IR. I didn't love the way that that he's kind of gelling with his new center. There are kind of offensive line question marks. You have to wonder how much, how many things they can take there. But it doesn't change the fact that this Patriots defense I still hold in extremely high regard. And they scored 2 defensive touchdowns last week against a young quarterback in Luke Falk, who looked to have, he had a spark, but he also had about, I'm going to say 20% of the playbook under his belt. Like, it definitely wasn't all the playbook. And I would guess that they're running a pretty vanilla offense, and I'm clearly staying away from the Jets here because the guys who are kind of professionals on that team, the guys who are really bought in on Monday Night Football, Le'Veon Bell, Robbie Anderson, a couple of their pieces on DJ, Jamal Adams, like, those guys played up. They played hard. They were really, really, really leaving it out there. And what do they get? A 20-point loss to the Cleveland Browns. They scored 3 freaking points. Like, when you have, when you go that high motivationally and you get that result, it's very tough to get up again and kind of repeat that effort, especially as 20 blank point dogs on the road against a Patriots team that looks all universe. This should be, Patriots pick their number, and you can't bet on those kind of situations because who knows what number they're going to pick. They might want to try to win 24-0, in which case you barely squeak out a cover. But they might win, 24-3. They might win 48-0. Like honestly, you can't touch this game from pretty much any aspect. But I do laugh and kind of like your pleaser look there. You might as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
we don't do a ton of editing. I don't know if you can tell. We don't have a producer. We don't have fancy equipment. But if we did, I would do a fun thing where we just take everything you said and the producer would superimpose the words Cowboys and Dolphins over Patriots and Jets and everything you just said. It's the same thing.
It's
the same thing. Like this Dallas, and I'll let you talk about that one. Because I just looked at them. Like, how are these games right next to each other?
And the only thing I can say even more so is that the Miami offense is broken. It's completely broken. They were toothless against the Pats. Like, again, man, that Dolphins team, like, they played hard in that first half against the Patriots. They were, that game was competitive. What was it at halftime? 13-0? Like, that was not a blowout, runaway, piece of shit game. And then, the Patriots grind out a drive, get a touchdown, and then Ryan Fitzpatrick throws a pick six on the next play, and game over, right? Like, and game over. And oh, by the way, now Minka Fitzpatrick, our first round pick from last year, you're gone. And oh, by the way, we have now, dealt Tunsil's gone, Stills is gone, Fitzpatrick is gone. Minka Fitzpatrick is gone. Ryan Fitzpatrick is still there.
The good Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick is gone. The bad one is still there. The fact that they still don't start Josh Rosen is weird. And keep in mind, I am not a Josh Rosen stan. I have seen him throw the ball enough to know that he does not have it as an NFL quarterback, but I know he's got something more. He's got more life in his game than Ryan Fitzpatrick does at this point. So why they are still refusing to go to him and trot Fitzpatrick out there is beyond me. Fitzpatrick didn't get enough reps in the preseason. He doesn't have any chemistry with this offense, and you know, we've seen play from some of the running backs and some of the receivers that is not becoming of NFL players. These guys would not be on practice squads on half the teams. And here they are starting games for the Dolphins. This is an embarrassment to the league. It's an embarrassment to the franchise. I know they are, being a little innovative here with stockpiling future capital by giving away their talent. But to do that this early in the season and put their fans through this is pretty short-sighted.
Jeter-esque.
It is. So if you're a Dolphins fan, just go and watch your playoff. Go watch your Miami Marlins clinch a playoff spot and enjoy that. That's probably
you gotta rub that in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, the Heat got Jimmy Buckets, so that's fun. That's fun, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I think top to bottom, this is just a completely lost season for this team. Brian Flores doesn't look like
talking about this game.
Yeah. And on the flip side, it's also bullshit because I would like to see. We need a freaking test for these Cowboys.
I want to see if Dallas is really good.
No, how good these guys are. And now we're going into next week they go against the damn Saints. So it's really bullshit. So that this is not competitive. It's bullshit that it's week 3 of the NFL season, and we have 2 games that are lined over 21 points. Like, this is absolute horseshit. Nice league, Roger. This is an absolute joke and a disaster. I guess speaking of the Cowboys, and the fact that Dak Prescott is racking up. He's adding zeros to his guarantees week by week, just dunking on these terrible defenses. He's going to do it again this week. I can't wait to see it. Good for him. They are look ahead line in New Orleans next week is Cowboys -2.5. Does that surprise you?
That's another one that, and we said don't take the Bills early. This is if you're not worried about limits, maybe grab that.
I know, right?
This could get out of hand. There's another one. Obviously no interest in betting this one for me. I hate it, like you said, because I can't tell if I'm not going to learn anything about the Dallas offense. Not going to learn anything about the Dallas defense. Miami, just full tank mode. It's rough. It is what it is, though. They're fully invested, moving towards the future. And we talked about this in the offseason. I mean, just a final thought on this one. We thought maybe they'd go with Rosen after whatever week. I don't have their schedule in front of me, but the beginning of their schedule was ridiculous. And I mean, you're seeing that they're playing top teams every week. They're going to play 3 of the top 4 offenses in the league in consecutive weeks, 1, 2, 3, and they're one of the worst teams ever assembled. At least in the last decade.
They get a break next week against the Chargers.
It's getting overblown. If the Chargers get right, that could be another one. So we did say that. It said maybe they're going to wait on Rosen till a third of the way through the season when the schedule lightens up. I think that is probably the right way to go. Just let Fitzpatrick deal with this horse shit and move on. So I don't know. No bet. I'm on to brighter times in Florida. Maybe.
It's tough, man.
I don't know. I did a lot of it was tongue in cheek preseason because he only threw 30 passes. But Danny Dimes, I mean, the books came out and said it. They showed you that chart and said, here's our downgrades. If Aaron Rodgers goes out and they have to start, Kaiser? They showed you all the downgrades from starting.
I don't put any weight into that. That was silly. That was clickbait.
Let me finish.
That was clickbait.
I still no. I 100% believe it. I don't know if those numbers were accurate, and I don't think they are. But relative to the other teams, for sure, there's. I mean, at least a neutral from
Agree with
Eli
you
to this
Agreed.
guy.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
For
Yes.
sure.
For sure.
And it might pump the team up.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people that just like Eli's stupid face and some of the throws he's making. And I mean, they traded away the best player in the team last year. So maybe
that
the team's
good?
not super excited about the current roster.
Is that not good?
That was a bad idea. This was a hard pass. The line really hasn't done a whole lot since it opened off the Jones, what do you want to call it, promotion to the starter. I am not interested at all in betting this since we have this high level of uncertainty with Danny Dimes finally going against, a starting offense or starting defense rather. He didn't play. He played a lot in the preseason, but it wasn't always against the ones. You're not always against full rotations. It might be vanilla defenses, vanilla schemes. He wasn't running the full playbook, so I don't know what to think of this. Hopefully, what I can take away from this game is how Jameis Winston and that offense can look against New York.
Yeah.
If they can exploit the shitty New York defensive backfield, then I am hopeful for Tampa Bay for the rest of the season. They have two very good receivers. They need to be able to scheme a way to get this offense moving.
They have
Jameis
with Howard.
Terrible. Yeah. Howard's not getting the ball though, so I'm counting him out because they just decided he's not on the team. They're not going to throw him the ball. But yeah, they that's true. No, you make a good point. They have three really good options there. It's like Minnesota. Like, you just not going to throw the ball to these guys, or what's the deal here? So that's what I'm looking for. Will Tampa decide to throw the ball? The New York Giants, their defensive backs have looked awful. They've gotten torched. They got torched by a good offense. They got torched by a bad offense. Will Tampa Bay do that? That's what I'm looking for here. No bet. I'm just gonna watch and see what my Danny Dimes can do.
Yeah.
Are you getting involved here?
No, but I do have an angle for backing Giants games. I think the Giants, now that we have Eli out and Danny Dimes in, this Giants team is a really nice second half overlook to me. This defense for the Giants reminds me a lot of last year's Raiders defense. Super thin. They get gassed in the first half. They cannot stop teams in the red zone. This is a great recipe for backing second half overs. You remember that run we had with the Raiders last year, obviously, right?
Yeah.
It was like 6 weeks in a row. They would just like,
I bet that.
Yeah, like a bunch of so many weeks in a row. Like
the Vikings game.
Yeah, it was so many. There were so many opportunities for that. The Giants are this year's team in that regard. They're going to be throwing it in the second half because they're going to be down a lot. Danny Dimes is going to have some moments where he looks good and competitive. He's going to have some bad turnovers. He's a fumble guy. I don't know if you remember that from preseason, but he's going to hold the balls too long. He's going to take some sacks. He's going to fumble it a little bit. So this is definitely a setup for second half overs. And I agree 100% with your sentiment about Tampa Bay. We need to see something out of that offense. We need, honestly, if we're hoping that Tampa Bay steals the NFC South here, maybe we don't want to see something out of this offense.
They got to have this.
Just yet. They got to have this. They got to get a win here. But long term, we'd be better off if it's clear to Bruce Arians if he wakes up and realizes he needs to take over play calling because they're not getting it done. The sooner we get there, the better chance I think that Tampa Bay wins the South. It's worth noting that we said it in the preamble. Tampa Bay's defense has greatly exceeded my expectations. Granted, they played, they played a quarterback coming off an ACL and a quarterback who had, foot and shoulder injuries, but scheme wise, they've impressed. And they don't have the most talented defense out there by far, but they're getting it done with effort and scheme, which is pretty impressive. And Todd Bowles deserves a little hat tip. And Tampa Bay should cover this game. And I don't have a lean really one way or the other on the total. 48 is a little high for a rookie quarterback on the road here. But again, if we see kind of a sleepy, kind of sloppy first half, I'm going to be unloading on that second half over. Starts now. Should we move down the card here? I'm going to set this one up.
Yeah. Undecided quarterback?
Yeah, there's not a lot to say. I guess I will.
I think you set it up 2 ways. If Cam starts and if he doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
We saw this open up. We saw the look ahead was Carolina -2.5. They head out to the desert to take on Kyler Murray and the Cliff Kingsbury's still defining themselves Cardinals. And
it's off the board, right?
It's off the board, yeah. But we're expecting it to reopen.
Currently off the board, yeah.
Currently off the board, but we're expecting it to reopen in the neighborhood of Cardinals small favorite. We'll say Cardinals -1, something along those lines, with Kyle Allen as the quarterback in lieu of Cam Newton. And while at when the number was -2.5 for the Carolina Panthers, and Cam Newton was going to be trotted out there in his beleaguered state, I was thinking, no doubt, no brainer, Cardinals all the way. Take that plus money line as soon as it's available. And but now, if they make the short-term switch to Kyle Allen, I'm less inclined to do that. Just because we're not, you're going to get a little bit more uncertainty with how they're going to call their offense. And Kyle Allen is not going to be overthrowing, underthrowing, throwing 40% of his passes in uncatchable space. And that would be an upgrade for this Panthers team at this point. Like, Cam Newton clearly needs to get right. They rushed him back way too soon from his shoulder. They are kind of, in my opinion, they are being dishonest with what is going on and saying that it's a foot and that's the big deal here. It's just a foot. Like, it's pretty clear that his entire physical makeup is not normal, right? Like, he doesn't have the same kind of upper body, shape that he had for the entirety of his college and NFL career to this point. He's way down weight-wise up top, and he's using way more of his torso to throw the ball than his shoulder. So this is not hard to kind of diagnose that he's still dealing with shoulder injuries, and they should probably put him on a shelf for 2019, especially given that they've had 2 home games and that they've lost both of those games. So yeah, this is a chance for Ron Rivera to surprise some people and win some games with the backup quarterback and try to save his job, or it's a chance for a clean start in Carolina after this season. But whatever the case is, this was an easy one to stay away from once we kind of got the sense that this was a potential quarterback switch going to happen. And I guess the only thoughts I have about the Cardinals, besides the fact that they really bungled some pretty good opportunities against the Ravens. I think the Ravens were kind of, we got a C effort out of them last week, and they could have, should have won even if the Cardinals were making better decisions. But when you're a dog on the road and you're kicking field goals inside the 5-yard line, like, that's really poor decision making. And Cliff Kingsbury, I don't know if he's gotten the heat he deserves for that, and that he'll learn from that. I don't think that's really the right way to go. And I also like this 10 personnel thing. All these wide receivers out there, like, your offensive line's not good enough to pull this off. Like, you could have an air raid style and do a little bit better job of giving your quarterback some time to pick apart the defense. Like, Kyler Murray's talented. He's got the skills, and he needs pieces around him. They're going to be frisky in some spots. They're a good fourth quarter team, really good second half team. I wouldn't shy away from betting the Cardinals down at this point. We've seen it 2 weeks in a row. I kind of had a whiff of that. Somebody might have even told me that, like, keep an eye on the Cardinals. They're going to be great late because X, Y, and Z. And I was like, yeah, those are good points. I'm going to keep an eye on that. And sure enough, they've been great in the second half 2 weeks in a row. So keep that in the back of your head as you're betting second halves. Cardinals probably get their first win. What do you think?
They have a good chance. At home, new starting quarterback, which honestly, like we said, it might even be an upgrade. If he can have any degree of accuracy, you joked about 40%, but it was like 32% of passes that came through were uncatchable, which led the league. Obviously, that's a super high number. That's not a good way to,
high.
Lead it off. No, it's just so high. That's so bad. I don't know. If I'm Carolina, my game plan is to just pound it with McCaffrey. And not just running it, but short passes, outlet passes, maybe some bubble screens. Take it easy. Arizona's passing defense, not as good as last year. Carolina has a shot to win this. I mean, Arizona's still trying to figure things out. Like you said, they're squirrely in the second half. Maybe if Carolina builds a lead, you can pile a little money on Arizona second half to just kind of leave it out there. They are just kind of leaving it out there in the second half, saying, let's go get this, and except for the field goal thing. Like, maybe if they'd have gone for all three of those, they might have won that game. They would have won that game. Just law of odds. You think they would have punched one of those in at least.
Yeah, the Ravens.
It's not two. Like
the Ravens left a lot of points on the field too. Like what did they need? They kneeled out the clock at the two. I mean, they could have scored more.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, it might have been a little more competitive, even though it was a close game. Yeah, at the end, it really wasn't competitive in the long run. Arizona live to win one, but even with a backup, I'm not gonna put real life money on this offense right now, especially with, like you said, those field goals, decision making. I'm a little out on Cliff at the moment. Based on that, so yuck. not a game I'm super excited to watch.
Yeah, Cliff Dingleberry.
I'm excited if I have
that last one.
If you have a McCaffrey fantasy, should be a good week because I would use his usage should be through the roof. God damn it! Just game after game of new quarterbacks stepping in. Teddy Bridgewater in the next one, maybe. A lot of cryptic comments. This is another reason. Yeah, reason I'm staying away from this one. I lean Seattle at home. Wilson. I haven't seen a lot of things I love out of Seattle, but they're just that same team that does this to me every year, where they make minus EV decisions and it all just kind of works out. They're that guy. Everybody knows that asshole from high school. It was just a dumb shit, but everything worked out for him. Like, Seattle does that every year. Even last year, like, they weren't a playoff team. I don't know how they managed to do this year. And a lot of it comes down to Russell Wilson. They have some nice pieces. If it is Teddy Bridgewater, that's a big downgrade. I love Teddy. Teddy has started in this league. He's a good quarterback, but he's not Drew Brees. I would definitely take Seattle in the points. I'm not betting it yet, but I'm looking at this one very closely. I'm going to look at a few more things before I get to it. It's not moving a ton. It's down to 4.5 actually. Did it open at 5.5? Is there New Orleans money? I don't know if I can get behind that.
Yeah, it did open.
Having to step in and going. Yeah, Penny did, and it was a light 5.5. It was minus 101.
It was.
It's just Bridgewater having to step in and go on the road. I mean, we all know how this goes. New Orleans goes up to Seattle, beast quick.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's a lean. I'm not betting this so far, but I mean, I haven't seen your card. I know you released it. I didn't look at it. I should have looked at it so I know when you're disagreeing with me here.
Yeah, I played the over.
This is a lean, not a bet. The over.
On a lot of the same reasons you just mentioned, I'm on the over. I do think Seattle's going to have no problem whatsoever scoring. Period. This is, there is enough. There is enough tape on this New Orleans defense and how you beat them, and it plays directly into what the plan A, B, and C for Seattle offensively. Seattle's going to get theirs in this one. I don't see any way that that they're not going to convert red zone opportunities to touchdowns. This should be a 28-point floor for the Seahawks, which makes 44.5 very gettable, especially if I have a huge amount of respect for Sean Payton as an offensive coordinator and offensive mind in general. He's obviously the head coach, but he's an offensive mastermind, and I would expect that he's got wrinkles that we will catch Seattle's subpar defense by surprise. This is a Seattle defense that can be picked apart with play action. They can be picked apart with short intermediate passing game. And, while I agree 100% that Teddy Bridgewater is not the long-term answer for the Saints, I don't really know why they signed him, to be honest with you. Nothing about his game fits at all with what Sean Payton likes to do. Like, it's kind of like how they brought in RG3 to back up Lamar Jackson, and you're like, great freaking job. Like that was smart, right? Like guy can pick up and run the same type of offense that you're trying to run in with no problem, right? I would say the opposite for Bridgewater and Brees. Like they are not the same type of quarterback. They are not, and you saw it in that Rams game. You can't put Teddy Bridgewater in there and do that. Like it just doesn't work. Now with the whole week to prepare, they're spending the week on the West Coast, and that we saw what it meant for the Niners last week in terms of their kind of coming together and spending a week focused preparation. Like I'm expecting a little bit of sharpness out of the Saints here in this game. And I'm expecting the veterans to step up and kind of fill the leadership void that will be left by Drew Brees. And, there's still enough weapons. There's still enough offense in this Saints squad that I think they're going to be competitive in this game. So I took an over 44.5, which I think is about 4 points too low. And should be a fun one to watch. I mean, we're going to learn a lot about the Saints. There's no doubt about that. And the Seahawks are kind of, this is our 3-0 frauds if I've ever seen them. I mean, we haven't even gotten to San Francisco. We haven't even gotten to the Rams. We talked about the Bills. There could be a lot of 3-0 frauds after week 3. And Seahawks are going to be in that mix, even though they have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Let's move down the card.
You might if it's like a 24.5, Seattle team total might be something I could get into bed with.
Oh, see, I like that look for sure.
Sure.
Oh, for sure.
I don't mind that at all. I think I just added to the card. All right, what's next?
I'm gonna cap. This one was the blaring, like they nailed this line. I thought. I could not find an angle, even though this is a game that should be fun to cap. It should be fun to watch. Houston heads out to Los Angeles, coming off of a very hard-fought win against the Jacksonville Jaguars at home, and they take on the Chargers. Phillip Rivers and company are basically the AFC version of the Eagles, the way I see them. They have tons of injuries across lots of important pieces, and this is a game where at full strength the Chargers would be a beautiful play on, but in their beleaguered state they are a stay away. This game opened at Chargers -3. I think at the early shops it was Chargers -2.5, and they just took some people, grabbed some numbers there and said we'll figure it out later. Got bet up to 3, and it's been beaten back and forth at 3 throughout the rest of the week. It's not getting a ton of action. It's not getting a ton of attention here. Total at 48 looks sharp as well. We're well documented on this podcast not believing in the Texans defense, not believing in Bill O'Brien as a coach, and were they to have a little bit more, where I had to have a little more confidence in their coaching staff and in their defense, and I'd probably be looking for an upset spot here, in the same way we were looking for a feisty road performance out of the Lions against the Eagles. But I don't have it with these guys, and this line is a little too short. 3 points is a little too short. They need to get a win to cover that. That this isn't going to land in the 1-2 range, I don't believe. I make them about a 40-ish% chance to win this game. So this was an easy one to stay away. Do you have any feel? Are we going to learn anything on this one, or is it just too tough to call? Have you broken down this game at all?
Boy,
this game?
brother, you said a mouthful. No, I did look into it, and just everything you just said. Like, it's obviously you're not seeing the movement really. It's not getting a ton of bets. It's kind of a sharp line.
Sharp line, sharp total.
It depends it's who you believe in it. If you think Phillip Rivers and them are going to get right, this isn't a defense that can probably slow them down if they clean up some of the mistakes from last week. Like, they can score a shitload of points in this defense. I've not been impressed with it. It looks a little worse without. Obviously, you lose Jadeveon Clowney, you're not going to be as good. He's an impact player. JJ Watt's been kind of non-impact at all for 2 weeks. Houston's looked a little shitty against some maybe lower competition. I mean, Minshew got his first start and did that. I mean, they probably should have won that game. Yeah. Houston's offense looked pretty bad. And granted, I'm gonna give Jacksonville's defense a lot of credit there. They're a good squad. They really picked it up in week 2. But yeah, I'm not big on Houston. Definitely lean Chargers, lean the favorite. I'm just chalky this week, I guess. But I'm gonna be on the sidelines just cheering for Phillip and the boys in their 21,000 seat soccer stadium. That's the only rub here is, it is a sharp line, and then you look at it, and it's like, man, there's no home field, which I don't know if anybody caught that. Whale canceled home field advantage altogether anyway last week, so that's not a thing.
Home field advantage canceled.
If that's true, then the Chargers have a -2 home field advantage, so they should actually be worse playing at home. But yeah, lean. If it were to tick to 2.5, if some Houston money showed, I might be in the Charger business. I don't know. Not making the card right now. The total feels just about right too. So yep, stay away. Not doing a whole lot with the late games here. The last late game is something that has seen some action.
Yeah,
has seen a little bit of not a whole lot more, but
I gotta play.
I mean, it's seen some action from some people I talked to. Yeah, you do. Mason Rudolph heading out to the coast. The Niners coming off a big walloping of our Cincinnati Bungles. Pittsburgh, I mean, it is what it is. You lose a quarterback in the middle of the game, that's tough. You throw a guy out there who maybe doesn't have a full grasp. He hasn't practiced with the ones a lot. He's going to get a whole week with the ones. He didn't look terrible. Like, he didn't look great, but is Mason Rudolph, what's a bigger downgrade? Breeze to Bridgewater or Ben to Rudolph?
See, I would say Breeze to Bridgewater.
In your mind.
I would say Breeze to Bridgewater personally, but it just almost entirely because of the system. And then on the exact
they're completely different quarterbacks.
Right, on the exact opposite end, what we saw when they pulled when they threw Rudolph in there, the offensive coordinator called it an entirely different offense for the Steelers, and it was a plus EV offense. Like, the switch was flipped. Like, I don't know. I guess there's something about what it is Ben likes to run an offense out of shotgun that makes play action pretty much useless. And the minute they had Rudolph in there, they were like, oh, okay, well, let's surprise Seattle with some play action, and that was super effective. I think there was a lot to build on in that game against Seattle when they threw Rudolph in there, and I think that this is kind of going back exactly to the same exact playbook last week playing on the Jaguars, right? Like, the look ahead here was Pittsburgh -1.5. We have a quarterback switch and they open it up San Francisco -7.5. Like, that shouldn't be a 9-point swing, right? That there's no fucking chance that it's a 9-point difference. And those 9 points, especially across 3 and across 7, get the fuck out of here. Like, this is
what did you get for a number? What do you want?
I sold down to Pittsburgh 6 at even money. And I got in, so I didn't get in late. Like, I missed the opener. And it got bet down pretty quick. I think it was floating around at like a super juicy 7 when I sold down to 6 at even money. And honestly, like this is a sell spot for me because I think this is either a competitive game where Pittsburgh stays, inside the number for most of the game, or he doesn't have it and they get beat to smithereens, and it's on the back of Shanahan calling a brilliant offense against a defense that might stink. And so this I don't think this lands around 7, right? Like this is either inside the number or well outside. So I guess I want to bring up two quick points to piggyback on what you said. Number one, potentially Ben Roethlisberger was not great in the locker room leading this team, and this could be a breath of fresh air for everyone. Number two, they trade for Minkah Fitzpatrick, send a motivational signal to the team that we're not quitting on the season. That's good. I like that. Number three, Niners, 2 wins in a row on the road, coming home, reading their press clippings, getting a little high on how great they are so far this season, when in reality, I think they're still about a 500 or a little bit better of a team. And number 4, home field advantage is canceled. And guess where it's especially canceled? San Francisco. It's canceled in San Francisco. San Francisco has a especially poor early in the game home field advantage because when you start games at 1 o'clock West Coast time, that 3/4 of that stadium is in direct sunlight, and it's impossible to sit in those seats and watch the game. There will be more people on the shady side and in the concourse drinking beers waiting for the temperature to drop than there will be out there making hooting and hollering and making an advantage that would prevent Mason Rudolph from communicating with his offensive line and getting his protections worked out. So I think this is a nice kind of, as far as a road game goes, this is not a hostile environment the way I see this game. And I think the Steelers might have a little bit of friskiness in them with with the way that this week has gone. I will put a cap on this by saying in this young season, I bet on the Steelers twice. Even though in the preseason I was like, I'm not really buying into the Steelers. The Ravens are going to win this division. I still backed the Steelers twice because I thought the lines had value. Also in the season, I have faded the Niners twice. And so this should have been blinking, flashing red lights. Stay the fuck away from this game. Do not do it again. Do not bet on the Steelers a third time and fade the Niners a third time in the same game. But I did it anyway. And if this doesn't come through, then I'm probably done with both of these teams for a little while until I can kind of more properly calibrate my priors and my understanding.
Reset your priors.
Reset my priors on these teams before I bet them again for a while. So, I mean, if you think you're off, I think you're not. I think you're not going far enough. Pittsburgh money line plus 240. It's like you said. It's not going to be it's them backdooring their way. I think it's either Mason Rudolph and the offense is a little more open, like we saw some of that play calling, and they get this done, or they just get the shit beat out of them, and it just doesn't work out. And Shanahan is the genius we thought he was. The offense is finally clicking. Garoppolo's finally healthy and back. The offense looks solid. So I'm not going to do that. I mean, maybe a little tickle on that, but I mean, you can get a 7 minus 15 right now. There's some 7s out there. I'm not afraid to sell that down either. I haven't bet this one yet. I've been watching the number. If we see more Niners money, I can get a sexy 7 at a decent price. I might grab that. I agree with everything you're saying. Okay. And I faded San Francisco last week. I paid for it. I haven't bet on Pittsburgh yet, though. Jesus. I'm 0-4. I'm 0-4 against these two teams. This will make it 0-5, and I will be done with them for a while. But you know what? I'm not going to be able to fade the Niners next week because they have one of these weird early buys. Do you have any thoughts on when you're heading into an early buy? Like, does that affect your team at all? Do you have any? Should I be accounting for that situationally at all? I didn't. I'm just curious.
That's overthinking.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sounds good.
I mean, if somebody has an opinion on that, hit us up. It's an interesting question that you did not prepare me for at all.
Well, I hadn't really thought of it.
I've never thought about it. Like, does it affect the mindset of the team this week when they have a bye coming up so early in the season? I don't know if that's super hard to quantify. If anyone has thoughts on that, hit us up. That'd be interesting if someone has thought about that or looked into that. But yeah,
I remember teams going
that's all I have
into
to say about that game.
I remember there were examples we could come up with anecdotally where a team was white hot early in the season, heads into an early bye, and comes out with cold water thrown on them. I could think of at least 4 teams where that's happened in the last 4 years. Hopefully that's not the Niners this year, because if they go into the bye 3-0, I don't know if I have the stomach to back the Browns week 5 with the Niners coming off the bye. I can't bet against the Niners 4 games in a row. All right. Well, I have a little Niners.
Let's close it down.
Future to win the West. So if they exceed expectations and go on a little bit of run, I'll make some money back that way, I guess. All right. Last game on the card on Sunday, the most bet game of the week. That surprised the shit out of me that everyone ran early to the window to get action down on the Sunday night football game. Cleveland Browns hosting the LA Rams. 2 teams that have looked uneven, to put it kindly, on offense. The Rams last week obviously came away with the win. It looks like they scored a lot of points, so you think, oh, it's all well and good. I got bad news for you if you're a Rams backer or a Rams fan. They still have a lot to figure out offensively. And Jared Goff does not look particularly comfortable. He is still not doing a good job of kind of rationalizing decision making, reading defenses, and running the offense. He is very, very much being hand holding with Sean McVay at this point. And on the other side of the ball, Freddie Kitchens doesn't have this figured out yet. He's not running the right scheme for this team. He is with the loss of their third wide receiver Higgins. They really just have not looked crisp at all out of the 11 formation, and yet he's running that at a disproportionately high rate. The Browns, if they are going up against Sam Darnold on Monday night instead of a combination of Trevor Siemian and Luke Falk, I don't know if they are winning as comfortably as what we saw. In fact, I don't know if they're winning at all. If it's full-strength Jets and you had Quinnen Williams and C.J. Mosley out there and Sam Darnold slinging it, that's a coin flip game as far as I can tell you. And yet, people seem to think, oh, well, they got to win all as well. Baker Mayfield doesn't look great in this offense yet. They have a lot of learning, a lot of growing to do. This sets up well for an under. And the market wholeheartedly agrees with the under move. This might close in the 47 range after opening at like 51 or 52. I got on board when it was 50 and a half. I sold down to 49 and a half because I don't think 50 is an especially meaningful number in a total. So I'm sitting on under 49 and a half at plus 105. Sorry, plus 100. How do you handicap this game? Do you think the Rams are the right side? And does this stay under the total? Or is this a second week in a row example of being on the right side of a market move on a total on Sunday Night Football and not realizing a win out of that?
It can't possibly be. No, like, yeah. Mayfield. We talked about this. We talked about this in the halftime scope. His footwork was terrible. I'm not sure what was going on. He's looked way better. I've seen him play so much better than that. I don't know if just, we talked about this one of the other games. Like, did they play down a little, just knowing like, oh man, we're playing Simeon. It's the Jets. We're not worried about this. It was ugly. Like they won by, it was 3 scores. And they didn't look good. They didn't look good in most of the game. It was a couple. You take out the big bomb and a couple other little plays, and like that offense really struggled at times. You got to give the Jets a little credit there, but yeah, Mayfield looked inaccurate. He looked like he was making some shitty decisions at times. It helps having a really, really all-world receiver like that, and that's going to pay dividends. But the Rams defense isn't bad. The offensive line, I think, is going to have their hands full with the Rams front four. I think it's going to be the case on both sides. I forgot that this was the last game on the card. This was the prop bet I was alluding to. I was thinking you're just taking the sacks over on both sides. I think it both cashes. I think both of these offensive lines, the Rams are going to give up pressure up the middle. Cleveland's going to give pressure up all over the place. I think
what number?
like 10
what
sacks
number
in
was
this
what?
game.
Yeah,
I think it does.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if you give me like a 3.5
over 9.5
on either side, I'll bet
sacks,
those.
You're still betting over?
See, and I don't know what the markets are. Is it for the I don't bet props enough. And it's not open as far as I can see. Is it like a total sacks in the game, or is it Rams total sacks, Cleveland total sacks, or do they have both? I'm gonna have to look. I'll tweet out anything I play on that, but I'm gonna play a bunch of that. I think there's 10 sacks in this game.
Because it's a primetime game, you'll get a crack at all three.
I bet you're right. That's an excellent point. Because it's a standalone game, the props market will be robust, and I will be getting into it. I'm pissed. We talked about the under. I got busy. I didn't bet it. I said, I'll probably just bet it in the morning, and then it's like 49 in the morning. I still might bet it. I still think it stays under 49, but those sacks props, I'm excited about that. And I think the Rams, if you got a nice 2.5 or even like an even money 3, that's probably the right side. The offense, I think they get going.
Yeah.
I'm not super impressed with a lot of what Cleveland's done so far. It's a rookie head coach. They still have a learning curve. They have a lot of talent. They might get right, but they have a tough stretch coming up. I'd lead Rams under.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm probably not backing the Browns until, I don't know, November. But definitely after Halloween. They just have so much. They have so much growing to do. They have so much better to do here. Okay.
I forgot we had buys next week already. This is our last full card until
there's only
week
2.
12, 13 then.
There's
only, but it's one game shorter.
Yeah, but thankfully one of the buys is a Jets game, so we're not going to have to talk about the Jets next week.
That's true.
I know, because I was looking at the look-aheads, and I was like, how come there's only one double-digit spread next week, and it's Chargers-Dolphins? I'm like, where's the other shit team that should be getting double-digit points? Oh, they're going to be on bye. So, all right, man. Hopefully Darnold comes back after the bye week 5. We really need more competitive.
You know what? Before we got on today, you're like, oh, man, I don't like this card much. This is a bad card. You made like 10 bets.
Oh, I made 7. I'm on 7th place, but I'm looking out for some halftime second half plays. So yeah, I mean, I got another 3 in the chamber on some second half looks if they manifest, and for sure we're gonna bet some second half plays in the primetime game. So yeah, I'll probably make 16 bets this week, but I only got 7 for now. And you know, I feel pretty good about them. If I go 7-0, I think I dig myself out of the hole I've gotten dug to this point in the season on my pregame action. So we'll see.
You'll be fine.
Don't love this. Don't love my card. I don't love it. This is not. I'm not feeling super confident, but at the same time,
I love it.
Oh, good. Okay. Good. All right. Well, great work. Great pod. Let's wrap this up. Let's put a bow on it. Let's post it. Let's get the people some.
Hey, good job. Good job listening to the whole thing. Good job for you. You made it. You did the whole shebang. I wish you much luck. I hope you don't win all your plays, though. I don't want you. If you win all your plays, then you're going to make stupid bets next week. So
that's a great.
I hope you, the listener, win 60% of your bets. I hope you have a profit. Yeah, maybe even a little bit. 65. I hope you have a very profitable week. I hope you have a good football viewing experience. Thanks for being there for us.
Yes, thank you. Great point. Great point.
Emotional.
Best of luck. We'll talk to you on Thursday Night Football halftime. Then we can laugh about how
sounds good.
How silly that game is.